I hope everybody got a chance to get their quilt sandwich done. And I didn't get much further than I just did some of my outlines. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some different patterns, and we'll keep working till our 40 minutes is over. And so until we get as many done. I figured I've got like 20 different sections on this one. Well, we can do more, we can do less. It's yours. What we're going to do is we're going to work on some different sections, and we're going to, not necessarily these, we can work on more. So anyway, we did the stippling last week, and that's really about it. Did anybody have problems with stippling? I did have some questions during the week that they said, you know, what happens if my lines cross? Then they cross. Cross some more. If you do one by accident and you crisscross your line, no big deal. You know, do some more, because you'll see one, but if you keep doing it over and over, then, you know, then it's purposeful. So yeah, just do it as you need to. Eileen says hers doesn't look like mine at all. That's okay. No two people stipple the same. None. It's like your fingerprint. There was a few, we had a conference one time when I went down to the Houston Quilt Show, and they said that they were talking to some of the judges who judge all these big shows, and she was giving a lecture about, I guess, machine quilting, and she was saying quilting is so unique to each person that after a while, even if you enter your shows into quilts all the time, they always hide your name so that the judges do not know who it is, but after a while they can tell whose quilt is whose just by looking at the stippling style, because everybody's stippling is sort of unique to yourself. And so don't try to look like anyone else, just look like yourself. If it looks all crazy, well, that's good. Mine look like I'm lost, because if you've ever seen, if you've ever ridden to a quilt show with me, I can get lost with the GPS. I can get lost in a closet with the door open. So, you know, so I'm always lost. So that's how my stippling looks like. I'm always lost. So the next one we're going to try is, let's see, let's go do one of these, a nice easy one. We'll start out, always warm up. Two things you always do when you start to machine quilt. You always check your tensions on a spare piece of fabric, or I usually keep an extra sandwich that I just keep by the table just for this purpose, that every time I get to the machine, I will warm up and do a few and test my tensions. I cause more issues when I just go, I was just here, no problem. That's when my tension goes weird, is when you get too cocky and you think you don't have to test it because it was just fine 10 minutes ago or an hour ago when you went to lunch. It was fine, and you come back and it may not be fine. And that it's Murphy's Law at work. It's a very strong law. So, okay, so like I said, that's the one thing you want to do, is test your tensions and try to warm up a little bit. Just scribble around on the piece, and then you're ready to go. So that's mostly that. Every time you sit down, you do that, whether it's 10 minutes, 2 days, you know, whatever. So, okay, so let's go to the machine. And what this is I'm just going to pick a spot, and this is much like stippling, except I'm just going to keep turning loops both right and left. Sometimes I'll do 2 rights, sometimes I'll do 2 lefts, sometimes I'll, you know, just loop around, or sometimes I'll scoot around this way so I can see what I'm going. Sometimes I'll make figure 8s. Whatever you need to do to fill the space. Okay? I'm just picking a spot anywhere to do loops. And my borders are not that straight. I don't care, because I'm going to go over these with a decorative stitch. So the first thing we'll do, I will review how to start and stop again. So to start, I'm going to lower the needle, bring the needle up, and I'll raise the presser foot. And usually what I do is I pull it and then grab the bobbin thread, and it didn't get it. Okay, let's try this again. Oh, it's a little tiny piece, that's why. Trying to get it. There we go. Got it. Okay, so now this thread is on the top, and this one's underneath, so I'm just going to take a few traveling stitches just to get the thread out from under the foot there. Because now I can take my scissors and pull it out. And I'm going to trim, and I've just started in the sides. Okay, now we're just going to do loops. So I will start with a loop over here. And I'm going to start at a moderate speed. I always start kind of slow just to measure things out. And as I feel comfortable, then I speed up. I'll come over here. See, that corner needs something. So I'm coming over here. I'll do another one to the right. I'm going to do a loop, and then I got to come over here. See how I have to fill this space. I tend to do my loops. Sometimes if you do it around, it's fine. Just go around. See, that way I should have gone the other way, and then I wouldn't have backed myself into a corner, but that's fine. You back into a corner, come to the edge, and travel along it. Get yourself out of the corner. Make some loops big, some loops small. I'm going to cheat. I don't want to go around it, so I just closed the loop and went on. Unless you look really close, you're not going to notice it. You want to make the spacing between the stitching pretty consistent, because with quilting, a lot of times if you do really tight, tiny quilting, like a lot of background fills that are very close together, be prepared to do the whole thing that way. Because you don't want places of the quilt that are tightly quilted and other parts of it that are loosely quilted. The quilt isn't going to sit straight. It's going to be wavy. Okay, let's... There's a little half one there. Okay, that one's now to stop. I finished my run. I'm not going any more on that. I'm going to do 3 little stitches close together. Okay, and then I'm going to go needle up. Bring that needle all the way to its highest position over here. Raise the presser foot. I usually pull it forward, trap my needle thread, put it back in the same hole. Lower my presser foot, take 1 stitch. Okay, and then back to its highest position, and then you grab, and now you've got your bobbin thread is the big loop, and I'm just going to trim it. And where did I just put those little scissors? Here they are. Okay, that one's done. Okay, that turned out okay. It's just little loops. You could make them farther apart. You could make them closer together. It's up to you. Yeah, I like a lot of these things better than stippling's too regimented, and besides you can get bored with it really easily. So a lot of times I will do other things. I have a friend of mine who's an extremely good quilter, beautiful quilter. Can't stipple if her life depended on it. So she does something else, and it looks just as nice, even if she does something else. Okay, let's do another one. Let's do some circles, just plain ordinary circles. And circles are a little more challenging. I'll just sort of move them. Oh, I'll put it right here. I'll put them on the edge here. Let me get rid of that pin. Because it, well, don't throw the pin in the trash. There we go. Okay. Now I have an end here, so I'm probably going to stabilize this end, which I didn't do before, which means I don't have to. I just stabilize the end that I'm working on. A lot of times, if you do not stabilize the area that you're working in, like say if I were doing, and this will come up when we do grid work. When you do grid work, you tend to go up. You would tend to go up and down and up and down and up and down, and what happens is you get all this twisting and puckering going on. And especially around the borders, if you're doing your quilting around the borders, you'll get that shifting where that fabric will start to like ripple in a curve, or it'll twist on you. So what you want to do is you always want to enclose the area that you're stitching. A lot of times, like with embroidery, like if you have an embroidered quilt, that the first thing you do is, I usually do, is I will outline around my embroidery, and I stipple or do a background fill around the outside. And then what happens is that everything has shrunk in, and you get pleating on the back, because this is going to pucker in more than the back, and then you end up with excess fabric on the back. And that can be eliminated if before you start to stipple, you have also done the outside border of whatever you're stitching. So always do an outside, give it boundaries. That way, if it's going to pucker, it's going to stay contained in that area or in that block. Okay, so let's go back to circles. And circles, I like to do circles, but it's hard to do circles. And I'll do a few here along the edge. Now, whenever you're doing a circle, like we did the loops, which I was thinking circles. And if you think circles, you get ease. You get this elongated, loopy thing. If you have your circles and in your mind you think of, I'm going to stitch a square, not with sharp corners, but think square, your circles are likely to come out more rounded. Like I'll do some, like along the edges, sort of think square. And I want to make my circles different sizes. And see, I'm going around, filling it in. And see, I thought round. And I'm going to work my way out. And I want to show you this one. But I'm thinking square, 4 corners, and I'm more likely to get a rounded shape. If I think circular, let me. Here's that one right here. I don't know if you can see that. Let's get my pointer. See that one right here? It's elongated. I was thinking circle. I wasn't thinking square. See how much more rounded they are? And a lot of times you can go around several times. They do not all have to be the same density. So like I've got some that are light thread, some have I go around a few times, but make them different sizes, and then you don't, and I'm more comfortable going counterclockwise, but you go however you can. And think round, and I don't want them all to be, you don't want to do them all in a row. I don't want to see like this where you got here, unless that's what you're trying to achieve. If you do little ones and big ones, and you know what? See how this one right here, it's not really round, but if I go around it a few times, well, it's round now. So and if you go around a few of them differently, some will be darker than others in color because you've gone around, and they don't have to touch everywhere. Sometimes I go in between, sometimes I'll go edge to edge. And see, that makes a really nice background fill. Now you can come in here and make this more interesting than this. If this this is fine if you're doing a landscape, but I'm not doing a rock wall. But I can now make this more interesting by doing my circle and then coming in and put a little curly Q. In fact, I'm going to put a little curly Q in all these other ones. I'll come back. So I'll do a circle and a curly Q. What that little curly Q does, besides giving it more interest, is it gives you time to think about where you want to go next. See, I can put the curly Qs in here, and just look how much more. Let me do a bunch. Let me get some speed going and do a bunch of these. Let's see. So you finish the circle and then come in and work your way out. Do a little half a circle. Aren't those curly Qs cute? I like those. But like I said, there's just learning a few basic shapes. You can pretty much do anything you want. Keep an eye out. Look at clip art on the internet. Oddly enough, I like to go to the National Gallery of Art, and I don't create the great masters. I recreate the frames around the great masters that they use. There's some wonderful texture, bubbles, anything. Look, any picture you can get inspiration from it. So, like I said, I like the circles, and you can keep going with that. But I like the little curly Qs because now it takes the pressure off me having to have those circles perfect. Because to be honest with you, circle is the hardest shape to master. Because we don't think perfect. A lot of times when I have to do a lot of circle work, I'll use those rulers to get perfect circles. That's the only time I can count on me having perfect circles. So a lot of times when I want circles, I will do what I call them the little snail shells. They look like little periwinkle shells. If you're from New England, you know what those are. Love them. My uncle used to go collect them. I don't remember where, but I loved them dearly. They'd make me sick as a dog, but oh God, they were good. So I call these my periwinkle shells. Okay, that's all I'm going to do with that one. So, you like that? Yeah, this one you can, this one, it looks really complicated, doesn't it? It looks really ornate and complicated, and look how hard that is. Oh my God, it's not. It's a messed up circle that you can't get them perfect, because I know I can't, but you putting that little teeny curly Q in there, who cares? It makes it look like $1,000,000. because you sure do notice on this side where I didn't get them perfect. And there's not a one here that's a perfect circle, not one. But it looks good. I would be happy to have this on there. I love those. All right, let's see, what can we do next? All right, let's keep on with this circle thing, and let's do, I'm at the edge. Here, I'll just stabilize that edge, and then I'm just going to pull off. Because it's at the edge, I don't care. And I keep losing my scissors. They're there. Okay. Let's do leaves, okay? We did these, right? Which are loops. Leaves are loops with a point. Okay, so let's do some leaves over here. So I'm going to stitch a little bit up just to get it underneath and trim that away. Oh, you should see what I did with the big quilt. I went to trim my thread like that and I went right into the fabric. Guess what I did? I put a dense little circle there and covered up the hole that I just cut. So there's always a way to fix things. Okay, so we're doing a loop. So a leaf consists of a loop, start with a loop, stop, and finish the loop. Same thing. Instead of taking it smoothly, you stop. See? And when you stop at the point, you want to sort of take a little breath and let it continue to stitch 1 or 2 times there. And I don't have to keep going straight. I can do some curves in between. And then whoop, up. And guess what? I put the leaf point on the wrong edge because now go through the middle of it, it becomes a stem. So you can do them in a line. This looks good in sashing. So let's just say, so I could make that rounded end and go through the middle of it, and now you've got the vein of your leaf. Or you can just, that's how I travel from one area to another. I can either loop around it, and I want to come over here. So you just make all kinds of leaves. And you can mix the round ones with the ones in the vein. Or not. Now a lot of times when I have a sashing, I think I'll put a sashing over here. Let's put a sashing line over here. Come down here and let me create a sashing. We'll just pretend that's straight. Okay, so then I will do a leaf, Wait a minute, I'm not getting this right. Let me try this again. I would come over here to the point, around here, stop at the point. There's that. I could use this, that's the same leaf, or I could just do them. I don't know what I'm doing here. Let me think. There we go. That looks terrible. That's really bad. No, that's not the shape I wanted. Forget that. So, yeah, see, some things don't look good all the time. Yeah, it does look like strings of Christmas lights, but it's supposed to look like leaves. This is why it's always good to have a practice sandwich, because sometimes you have something in your mind and it's just not going to work, and you just got to have an extra play piece to work it out. Sometimes working it in your head doesn't always work. And let's see, I would go like this. No, that one's just not where me and leaves today. And there's times, yes, there's times for certain shapes you just won't get along with, and that's okay too. You know, that's why I like to do a lot of these practice pieces, and I always have one going, like I said, just to doodle around and to play to see what I can get going. Oh, here, see, now this is what I was trying to achieve right here. Look at that one. See those? That's what I was trying to do. So I had the leaves, and the leaves don't have to be square. You can make them with a little tiny point. So let's see if I can do that, because that's what I want to do, but for some reason today is just not doing it. So, okay, a little point, coming and making that round, do the vein, up, around, do the vein. Sometimes I might put a little curly cue, especially if I want to move it. And a vein. And I'll put one up into the corner, a little one, a little curly cue. Because remember, leaves are always in it, and I'm going to just trace this around because I have a spot here that needs to be fixed. So I'll just yeah, this is where it was supposed to look like over here. I just got super messy over here. Okay, let's see. What else can we do? Here's one that's a nice, easy one to do that I like to do a lot, especially around embroidery, is this one. I call them the little clamshells. Those are really nice to do, and they're fun to do. So let me just work my way out. I'll just cut it. Okay, I'll just go over here. We'll do clamshells over here. Okay. Okay, clamshells always start with a little loop, and when it's in a corner, I don't have to go all the way in. And then I'm just going to echo it and echo it. Okay, then I'm going to come over here and do a little loop, little teardrop, echo it, echo it. And then if I want to come in, do it in a different direction, just back tack along in this section. And see how I'm running out of space here? So I'm only going to do a partial one. Go along the edge. And I usually like to do them in 3, so I'll come out and come back in. Okay. And if I have that little space right here, put in a 4th one. There's no police. Put in a 4th one. Along here. And I'll start here. Half teardrop, echo, echo, And I'll make it go up to here and put one in right in the middle. And then maybe come to here. I want to change up directions. See, a lot of times where I can't do a whole one, I'll just do a partial one. Because, you know, one is hiding behind another. That's okay, too. Come over here. I'm going to do one sideways. Because now it's facing a different direction, and that's okay, too. Come up along here. And move up and go this way. I've noticed with this particular pattern, if I'm wanting to travel in the same direction I'm going, do an odd number. If I would need to come back and fill something in, do a even, and I need to fill in here, so I'm going to do a fourth. Nobody's counting. I'm just going to fill in that just because I'm there. See, and this is giving me partial ones. 1, 2, and I want to go that way, so I'm going to just end it on the side I want to travel to. When it runs into another one, just stop and make a partial one. Do these look hard to you? Does anybody think these look too hard? Because they're not. They just take some practice. So these are fun to do, and this is a good way. You make a table runner, and if something does, you know what? I'll show you what you do if the thing turns out so horrible like this, on what you can do to make it look like to hide it. So I'll show you. That'll be next time. I'll show you what we'll do to hide the yucky ones. See, I don't know what I'm going to do here, so I'll just do little echoes like I pretend I have one. These are also nice to do inside of feathers. Let me do that shape. And I want to come back and fill in over here. I'll do one more. I have found with a domestic machine, to me it's easier to do these small designs than to do big ones. Okay, here's this camera. Look at the great big feathers. I mean, look how big those feathers are. Those great big feathers are hard to do because you're having to travel a long way with them. There, that's showing. See, I mean, these are huge feathers. These were hard to do. This is why everything hurts. This size scale to me is easier to do on a domestic machine. And see, like over here where I did these waves, these little arcs, that took a lot of brute strength to push a king-size quilt. Even though this machine is huge, it still took quite a bit of strength to push that far. And see, like this, like those shapes we just did, that's the same shape. It's just huge, really big. Let's see, here's another spot where I use that same shape, right here. See those circles here? So I used them quite a bit. But like, yeah, oh yeah, see there's circles. This is the corners. Look at all those circles. And I didn't do them with the rulers, and I should have. But this is a point where, like, this is for a wedding that's next weekend. Or next week, and I needed it done. I didn't need it perfect. It just had to be done. And it did turn out okay. Now I do like on this, I do like this edge finishing. I put the piping that we did the other day, and this just really just gives that great, no, those are not great. Eileen, look at these circles better. Look at them real carefully. They are not round. That one's way not round. I can see it. They probably won't. That's why I quilt for people who don't know anything about quilting, because then they can't pick it apart. I do not like quilting for my family because they look at it with a microscope. So, yeah, no, they are not great circles. They are far, oh, yeah, no, look at this one. That one looks terrible. It looks like a potato. So, yeah, the feathers turned out okay. I like the feathers. And on the back, I pieced it, so I used, you can see the pattern a little less, but you can over in the corner. These are all scraps on the back. I'd like to say I got rid of a lot of my spare fabric. You're right, it's organic. I like that. Yes, they're organic. They're potatoes. They're organic circles. Yeah, I like that. But that, you know, like I said, there is no perfect. Don't look for perfect if you're going to make yourself crazy. And you know what? When it's done, y'all are going to absolutely love it. So does anybody else have any questions? What size quilting needle do I use? On the tiara, I'm using an 18. I think I have a 14. On the Jane, which is this straight stitcher, same one you have, Judy, I'm using a size 14. Get that out of my way. That's annoying. That light is, it's old and I need new lights. I need a whole new sewing room. I need a whole new house. No, I just need things renovated, that's all. All right. Been known to use a size 12 quilting needle because the quilting needle's a little better or a little sharper, so it goes through the layers a little easier. Yep, 90-14, same thing. Yep, that's good. Okay, any other questions? So your homework is to do, I'll finish up the clamshells, the leaves, the circles with the doodads, and I'm going to redo the leaves because those leaves look terrible. I'm embarrassed by those. One thing that's nice if you have it to get rid of even stitching in the quilting is a Peggy stitch eraser, because then you can go underneath and just cut the threads and it's easier to take out. I'm going to take out all those leaves because I'm real embarrassed. They look terrible. If you have embroidery, these things are invaluable, especially if you do machine embroidery, because you'll be there all day picking out stitches. It looks a lot like a mustache trimmer, but it is a little different, and I'll explain the differences. They're pricier, but you can get some online. Also, we've got them at the store, so get them during the sale. So anyway, I will talk to you. If I don't see you Thursday, I'll see you next Tuesday. Have a great weekend, and happy 4th of July. Bye, y'all. Miss you.